Hello. This is a story that connects human values, culture, and consciousness to personal, societal, and even planetary healing, sustainability, and well-being. Before we get to the story, I'd like to start with this quote from Gus Speth, and it says, "We scientists don't know how to do that. I used to think the top environmental problems were biodiversity loss, ecosystem collapse, and climate change. I thought that with 30 years of good science, we could address those problems. But I was wrong. The top environmental problems are selfishness, greed, and apathy. And to deal with those, we need a spiritual and cultural transformation, and we scientists don't know how to do that." I want to start with the picture of the bee and the flower, because this is one of the most basic pictures of coexistence, and without this relationship, human beings wouldn't be able to exist either. Now we take a bigger picture and we look at the expression of humanity's needs at this moment in history, and that can really be found within the UN Sustainable Development Goals. If we look at how many organizations are trying to address this is being done through science and technology and agriculture and manufacturing, and all of those things are necessary. But as Gus Speth rightly said, there has to be something more, there has to be something deeper. And so what would that more and deeper be? Here's one possible approach to that. If we look at who's delivering those goals, it's organizations. And the culture of those organizations really matters. How sustainable is that culture? How caring is that culture of their people? How much do they focus on the well-being of their people? Because their well-being will have an impact on the ability for them to do their jobs and make a bigger difference. But even beneath that, it's for all of us individually, and particularly our leaders. What are the choices we're making around our own development, our own consciousness, facing our own inner fears and our own well-being? Because that provides a foundation for everything else. Our doing flows through our being, and our being comes from the time we're investing in our own development. And so what we can say is the foundation of organizational sustainability is personal sustainability. And we have the brilliant framework from Richard Barrett, which helps us to measure both personal, organizational, and even societal culture and values. And if we go on from there, the foundation of societal sustainability is organizational sustainability. So once again, we can see that all these things are connected. Now let's tell you a real story of how this works. So I want to introduce you now to, on the left is MaryAnn Coconut from the Napranum community, and they are based in northern Queensland in Australia. And on the right is Annalise Jennings, who's a wonderful facilitator of transformation living in Melbourne, Australia. Now, many things connect MaryAnn and Annalise, but one thing in particular relative to this story is the fact that they've both done much of their own inner work. And as this story unfolds, you'll see that it is their doing that flows from their being that really was the center of the possibility of transformation in this community. The Napranum community had been subject to over 100 years of really inappropriate government intervention, and this had created enormous challenges within the community. So there were high levels of drug addiction and alcoholism and family violence and joblessness and a deep sense of hopelessness within the community. Annalise met with MaryAnn and community leaders and the community and started to explore not how Annalise could tell them how to fix themselves, but how they could start their own process of healing and transformation. And this started with a values assessment that looked at who were the people within the community, what were their personal values, what was most important to them, how they experienced their current culture, what was working well, but also was what was undermining quality of life, and then the desired culture, what they needed and desired in order to create true well-being and a new sense of transformed sustainability. This is a picture of one of the workshops that Annalise facilitated, and the short version of the story is that over the course of 3 years, the community truly did transform itself, and we saw incredible statistics of transformation, such as a 60% increase in unemployment, an 80% reduction in children attending the Safe House, and the physical construction of homes and libraries and shops to support the needs of the people. What was amazing about this is we could see the positive impact on all of the Sustainable Development Goals, and they'd shifted the needle at a community level, but made a contribution at a planetary level through the changes they had made. And this came, once again, from the inner being of the leaders, encouraging the growth of the inner being of all their people so that they could create their own transformation. So I want to remind you again here that the foundation of organizational sustainability is personal sustainability. Who Annalise and MaryAnn and who we are and how we show up really does make a difference to our organizations and our teams. And our organizations and teams, how healthy they are and the well-being that we experience inside of those teams makes a huge difference in our ability to deliver on the planetary needs for sustainability at this moment. Together with brilliant consultants like Annalise, Paul, Joni, Tor, and Phil are supporting leaders of organizations, governments, communities, and even whole nations to create healthier and more sustainable futures focused on well-being for all.